The Jack Johnson Era, 1908 to 1915. The year is 1908. America is shattered by segregation. Black men cannot vote, let alone dare to dream. And yet, one man named Jack Johnson decided that his dream would not wait for anyone's permission. He stepped into the world of heavyweight boxing with one mad goal: to become the first black world heavyweight champion. On December 26, 1908, in Sydney, Australia, he faced Tommy Burns, the white title holder. The fight was dirty, long, humiliating. Johnson toyed with him. He smiled, he talked, he slipped punches with effortless grace. For 14 rounds, he was not just beating an opponent. He was beating America itself, its racism, its stereotypes, its so-called natural order. And when the referee finally stopped the massacre, it was done. Jack Johnson was king. But this was a crown white America refused to see shine. And so began the hunt. Newspapers cried for a great white hope to reclaim the title. They even dragged Jim Jeffries out of retirement, hoping to put Johnson in his place. On July 4, 1910, in Reno, Johnson demolished Jeffries before 20,000 spectators. Riots broke out in 25 cities. Black men were killed simply for celebrating. Johnson never apologized. He kept on wearing white suits, driving luxury cars, and most of all, dating white women. That was too much. It provoked them. It enraged them. And so they brought out a weapon more treacherous than boxing gloves: the law. In 1913, he was charged with transporting a white woman, his girlfriend, across state lines for immoral purposes. A farcical trial followed, then a conviction. Johnson was forced into exile. For 7 years, he fought abroad, Europe, Mexico, cheered by strangers and vilified by his homeland. By the time he lost his belt to Jess Willard under a searing sun in Havana in 1915, some claimed it was fixed. Others said he was simply tired of bearing the weight of an entire race alone. But his legacy was immortal. From him onward, nothing would ever be the same. The Joe Louis Era, 1937 to 1949. He was a quiet man who rarely smiled, but when he hit you, it was as if history itself began to tremble. Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, was more than a boxer. He was a symbol. In a United States still drenched in Jim Crow, Louis became the black face that even white America could respect, and this was no accident. When he took the world heavyweight title from James Braddock in 1937, it was the first time since Jack Johnson that a black man ruled the sport's most coveted throne. But Louis did things differently. No wild parties, no provocative affairs. He followed the script laid out by a cautious America. No scandals, no loud talk, just wins. And when he did, again and again, he defended his title 25 times over 12 years, a record that stands to this day. Louis didn't merely beat his rivals, he destroyed them. Max Schmeling, Buddy Bear, Jersey Joe Walcott, they all fell before him like yesterday's news. Every precise, punishing punch carried the hopes of millions who felt invisible. And then came one fight that would transcend sport itself. June 22, 1938, Yankee Stadium, New York. Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling 2. The world was on the brink of war. Schmeling was German, held up by the Nazis as proof of Aryan supremacy. Louis fought not only for himself, but for America, a nation that still treated him like a second-class citizen. That night, black and white alike held their breath. And in 2 minutes and 4 seconds, Louis demolished Schmeling with 14 brutal punches. The German fell. Hitler's propaganda was shattered. America erupted. Yet even as a hero, Louis was never truly free. Taxes and promoters hounded him. In retirement, debt followed him. The wars and the years eventually took their toll losses to Ezzard Charles, to Rocky Marciano. Each defeat a painful reminder that time is undefeated. But in the hearts of those who had witnessed him fight, Joe Louis remained the quiet king. The one who never begged for admiration, but earned it forever. The Rocky Marciano Era, 1952 to 1956. He was neither the biggest, nor the fastest, nor the most graceful, but he never lost. Rocky Marciano, born Rocco Marchigiano, was the man nobody expected. Too short for a heavyweight, too awkward, too crude. Yet he carried one thing most men didn't: an iron will. From the moment the bell rang, he moved straight ahead, unstoppable, like a force of nature. In 1952, he challenged Jersey Joe Walcott for the world title. A single, thunderous right hand changed everything. Walcott collapsed into legend, and Marciano became champion. Overnight, the myth was born. The myth of a man who hit as if the whole world had wronged him. His reign wasn't flashy, it was relentless. The sound of Marciano's punches was like a thud in your chest. The silence after a knockout was like the hush after a storm. Walcott, Charles, La Starza, Moore, even the great Joe Louis, all fell before him. Every victory drove home the same unshakable truth. This was a man who could not be broken, and what made him truly legendary was what he never did. He never lost. 49 fights, 49 wins, 43 knockouts. Retired at 32, unscathed. No comebacks, no scandals, nothing left unfinished. He walked away as a mystery, an enigma carved in granite, forever invincible. Even his death, years later in a plane crash on the eve of his 46th birthday, could not tarnish the legend. Rocky Marciano remained frozen in time as the perfect warrior, a myth that no defeat could touch. The Muhammad Ali era, 1964 to 1978, Cassius Clay, the loud, beautiful boy from Louisville, had none of the usual traits of a heavyweight champion. Too flashy, too quick, too sure of himself. Yet on February 25, 1964, against Sonny Liston, the most terrifying man in boxing, Clay showed the world that his arrogance was anything but empty. He danced, he slipped, he stung. Liston quit. Nobody could believe what they'd seen. But a new era had begun. He changed his name to Muhammad Ali. He rejected the expectations of white America. He joined the Nation of Islam. Every fight became a political statement. Ali wasn't just boxing, he was breaking chains. And then came Vietnam. Ali refused to fight a war for a country that denied him his rights. They stripped him of his title, banned him for 3 years, tried to crush him. But Ali returned, slower, but wiser, and even greater. His mouth was sharper than ever, his fists still lethal. He faced titans like Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton, men built to destroy him, and he survived. 1971, the first Frazier fight, was like two gods colliding. Ali lost but emerged larger than life. 1974, the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali versus Foreman. Rope-a-dope. Patience. Genius. Ali knocked him out and reclaimed his crown. 1975, the Thrilla in Manila. Ali and Frazier, locked in a nightmare so brutal it looked like war. Frazier blinded, Ali barely standing. In the end, Ali was never truly undefeated. Time took him, age took him, opponents took him. But even in losing, Ali embodied what most never dared to live: political courage, flamboyance, humanity. The Larry Holmes era, 1978 to 1985. Former sparring partner of Muhammad Ali, Holmes didn't have the divine grace of his mentor, nor Tyson's charisma, but he had something else: a jab of icy purity and an unshakable faith in his own worth. And with that, he quietly became one of the most dominant champions in heavyweight history. In 1978, as the boxing world mourned the end of the Ali era, Holmes faced Ken Norton for a vacant title. That night, in a fight of rare intensity, they went to war for 15 rounds, Holmes winning by a hair. It was a key moment, a passing of the torch. But the public never embraced him. He wasn't Ali, he wasn't flashy, he was too good without making a spectacle of it, no matter. Holmes followed his path. For nearly 7 years, he defended his belt against all comers: Ernie Shavers, Jerry Cooney, Tim Witherspoon, Trevor Berbick. He beat them all, calmly, consistently, masterfully. And yet, after every victory, one question kept coming back. But could he have beaten Ali in his prime? That was the burden of being the champion after a legend, a man in his glory still seen as a replacement. But Larry Holmes was much more than an heir. He was a fortress, an elite technician, a warrior without empty showmanship. His jab, sharp, heavy, fast, was a slow demolition weapon. He wore his opponents down, broke them mentally. It wasn't fire, it was erosion. In 1982, he faced Jerry Cooney, dubbed the Great White Hope, in an electric atmosphere. The fight went beyond boxing. It was a racial symbol, and Holmes, with incredible class, weathered the storm and extended a hand to his defeated undefeated opponent. He wasn't just a champion, he was a dignified man in a turbulent time. But like all reigns, his would come to an end. In 1985, he lost to Michael Spinks, missing by an inch the chance to tie Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record. His undefeated streak was over, but his legend had just begun. Because in hindsight, we see that Larry Holmes defined a standard, one of rigor, endurance, and quiet excellence. The Mike Tyson era, 1986 to 1990. When he became world champion in 1986, at only 20 years old, the whole world trembled. No hope, no suspense, only fear. Tyson didn't enter the ring to win. He entered to annihilate, to punish. He crushed Trevor Berbick in 2 rounds, then rattled off knockout after knockout, collecting belts like war trophies. At that time, the heavyweight division was orphaned, Ali was gone, Holmes was aged, and then this force of nature burst in. Tyson became the youngest undisputed champion in history. Every fight was an event. The world froze. Fans paid to see bouts that lasted less than 90 seconds. In the opposite corner, his opponents shook. Some avoided his gaze. Others didn't survive the first round. Tyson hit like a hammer at full speed with an animal explosiveness and a deceptively brilliant defensive style. He moved his head like a panther, struck like lightning, destroyed, and most of all, he felt nothing, no pity, no remorse, just a cold rage born from the streets, prison, abandonment. Little by little, Tyson became more than a boxer. He was a living myth, but also a ticking bomb. And in 1990, that bomb exploded. In Tokyo, facing a rank outsider named Buster Douglas, Tyson was careless, unprepared, poorly supported. That night, the Invincible fell. 8 rounds of disbelief, an uppercut, a final combination. Tyson hit the canvas. KO, end of the reign. The world was speechless. It wasn't just a defeat, it was the end of an era. A short one, but as intense and terrifying as they come. The Klitschko Era, 2004 to 2015. This is an era that younger fans rarely speak of with much excitement. No chaos, no trash talk, no flamboyant drama. Just a methodical, almost surgical supremacy. Between 2004 and 2015, heavyweight boxing fell under the reign of the Klitschko brothers. Vladimir, the younger, a disciplined technician and Olympic champion. Vitaly, the elder rougher, nearly indestructible. Together, they held the division in a vice grip of logic, preparation, and control. No provocations, no scandals, just seriousness. Pure seriousness. Vladimir Klitschko was a piston-like right hand, a jab like a Swiss clock. He wasn't there to entertain. He was there to erase the other guy. From range, he would keep his opponent at the end of his glove and slowly shut them down. Not a style built to please crowds, but to reign without challenge. And that's what he did for over 9 years as world champion, defending his belts with relentless precision. Vitaly, for his part, was never knocked out. He never stepped back. Even against Lennox Lewis in 2003, a brutal fight that some will never forget, if not for a cut that stopped the action. History might have been rewritten, but what truly made their era unique was their brotherly pact. They swore never to fight each other. This ensured no total unification, but also created a strangely inhuman reign. 2 giants sharing the throne without challenge. 2 gatekeepers of an era without surprises. Gradually, public interest waned. The heavyweight division, once the sport's crown jewel, had become predictable. Fans craved chaos, blood, drama. The Klitschkos offered control, patience, and rational dominance. And then, in 2015, an unlikely figure shattered the cycle. Tyson Fury. Eccentric, unpredictable, brilliant. In a lackluster but pivotal fight, he dethroned Vladimir Klitschko. The king had fallen, and with him, an era quietly closed. The modern era, 2015 to present. For years, the heavyweight division felt like a ghost, a sacred class of giants that had lost its soul. The crowds drifted, the magic faded, and then, around 2015, something shifted, slowly at first, brutally after that. The dust rose, the giants awoke. Tyson Fury took center stage, tall, erratic, almost surreal. Beating Klitschko in a fight nobody expected him to win. Suddenly, the throne was empty, the king was gone, and anything seemed possible. Fury with his wild words, his battles with depression, and his improbable comebacks gave boxing back its humanity. Next came Deontay Wilder, like a prophet of destruction, with a right hand that felt biblical. No finesse, no polished skill, but pure instinct and power. Knockouts became his language. Fear returned to the sport, and Anthony Joshua, the Olympic hero, a physique chiseled like a statue, a sharp mind, a disciplined heart. He unified belts, filled stadiums, and electrified England. With him, boxing felt like an event again. Wembley was full, the world was watching, and then came surprises. Joshua losing to Andy Ruiz, Wilder and Fury going to war 3 times, fans bickering online, heavyweights unpredictable again just as they should be, and then Oleksandr Usyk appeared, a former cruiserweight who fought like a magician, taking Joshua to school with skill, timing, and finesse. No brute force, just brilliance, taking 2 belts, then 3. Today, nobody reigns unchallenged. Fury is undefeated, yet fragile. Usyk is masterful, but reserved. Wilder hits like a god, but can be broken. Joshua seeks redemption, but still wavers. There is no king, only a war of would-be sovereigns. The heavyweight division is no longer frozen in time. It's alive, it's chaotic, it's thrilling, and more unpredictable than ever.